Hello, welcome to the Bowie Business Journal. My name is Cecily Flight and I'm the administrative assistant at the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. I'm actually filling in for Pauline Markward, our executive director today. So bear with me, but we have a special guest, Derek Williams from Total Access Insurance. Hi Derek, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be interviewing you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Have you ever been interviewed before?
Yes, I have been.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm excited to come back and interview with you today.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you do at Total Access Insurance.
Okay. So again, I'm Derek Williams. I'm the principal owner of Total Access Insurance. What we are is an independent insurance agency where we specialize in helping customers find insurance and for auto, home, life, as well as business insurance. We have the pleasure to work with carriers, about anywhere from 6 to 8 different insurance carriers, such as Erie Insurance, Nationwide, Encompass, State Auto, Progressive, MAFE, just to name a few.
So the big ones?
A lot of the big ones, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you get started with Total Access Insurance, or just the insurance industry in general? I feel like, what path leads you there?
Great question. So I've been doing insurance for over 10 years now. Going on 11. So when I actually moved to Maryland looking for a job, and I was always in the sales industry, then I interviewed with Liberty Mutual. So that's where I got my insurance start. Worked for them for about 7 years, and then I learned the business, the ins and outs of the insurance industry, and then I decided, hey, I think I could do this on my own. So that came the birth of Total Access Insurance.
Okay, so you are the creator of Total Access Insurance.
Yes, I'm
correct?
the owner of the Total Access Insurance. That's correct.
Awesome. Okay. So you said that you guys provide home, auto, life. Can you talk a little bit about like the differences between those, or?
Okay, so the differences. So that's a great question. So auto insurance, any driver in the state of Maryland, as long as you're driving a vehicle and you own a vehicle, it's required by the state of Maryland to have insurance. So we provide that type of insurance. The great reason I went to the broker side of being an independent agent is I have more options for customers. So you may have a new driver who may be a younger driver or a newer driver who has questions or needs to get insurance. I have insurance carriers that fits their profile, as well as I have the more preferred carriers for more experienced drivers who's been insured for a while, may have a child or maybe a newly 16-year-old, 17-year-old high school driver or somebody. They may need to shop for their insurance rates. We have rates for them. So we have all types of different types of rates. So that's the importance of having options, and it helps save people a lot of time too. So by coming to me, and I could check around with the 8 or 10 different carriers for insurance needs, versus you having to go call in Geico here, call a State Farm here, call another agency here, call another agency here. I'd have knocked it out for you and just completed about 8 to 10 quotes for you, find you great coverage as well as rate at the same time. So
it kind of gives you that liberty to help them, but also find the best deal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. And so we were talking earlier about your previous experience at Bowie State. Can you talk a little bit about what you do with Bowie State University? Okay,
so I was a part of, before I moved here, so actually my new location here is on the Ken Hill Drive, the old Bowie City. I'm here in Suite 112, but I'm a part of programs called the Bowie BIC, Business Innovation Center. So I'm not actually in their graduation program. So I completed 3 years of training over there, and then now I'm over here. So my original first 3 years started at the Bowie State campus when I started there. So they have a great program over there for entrepreneurs over there trying to advance and learn how to be an entrepreneur. So
yeah, I've heard really great things about the Business Innovation Center, and working with Lisa Smith and everyone who's over there has been really pleasant and awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see. How about, since we're on the topic of the different types of insurance, do you want to talk about like insurance shopping? And if someone like that young driver is in the market, how should they go about like getting in touch with you, or even like starting that process? Should they do their research beforehand, or do you just kind of do all of that for them?
I can help with all of the process. So we help all types of different customers. So you have customers who, so one type of customer we have is common. So say for instance, today is December 20th.
20th, yeah.
Okay, so and your policy is getting ready to renew, say January 15th. So you have the customer who's shopping in advance. So they got the renewal in the mail, and they're looking to compare to see what they currently have, as well as possibly to save money as well. So you have that type of shopper. It's always great to shop in advance when you're looking for quotes, because a lot of the insurance carriers, they have discounts for, which is called an advance quote discount.
Okay.
So being a shopper who is looking in advance and ahead of time, a lot of the insurance carriers reward you for doing that.
Okay.
Okay. Another type of carrier is you may just say, hey, my grandmother bought me a car and I haven't had insurance and I need to get insurance today. So that's another type of insurance, another carrier, or I'm sorry, a client that you know that we can help to find insurance who needs to get the car, you know, registered with Maryland, you know, to get the car on the road. So we have that type of customer. And then again, you might have a customer whose policy renewed, they had a couple of accidents possibly, or a speeding ticket, and maybe they noticed that their insurance premium increased a little bit, so they're in a need to shop insurance rates there. So again, we have different types of carriers that can fit a lot of different demographics. So we're proud to be able to help out a lot of different clients that way.
Gives people all the options. Total access.
Total access.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And one other thing I meant to say, I'm licensed in Maryland, D.C., Virginia, as well as Pennsylvania. So I'm able to help customers in all four of those states.
Oh, that's great. So how did you get licensed in all four of them?
Well, so when I started at Liberty Mutual, I was already licensed in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So I kept my licenses, as well as I found out that I was actually getting a lot of calls and referrals from the Pennsylvania area as well. So I decided to get my license. That was a good business decision for me to be able to expand my clientele base.
Yeah. Do you think that you'll expand or keep expanding outward in terms of states?
It's a quite possibility.
Yeah. Maybe you could go over to West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Just saying that because that's where I'm from. But, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's see. Yeah, I mean, you've told us about what you do, the different types, how we can start insurance shopping. Let's talk about, can you explain, you know, what's the best policy to have on your home, kind of how to start that process?
Okay, great. Yeah, so there's actually about 3 different types of policies homeowners can have. So you can have one which is called a renter's insurance policy.
Okay.
So if you're renting an apartment or renting from somebody, it's good to have a renter's insurance policy. So that will cover you for your own personal belongings in the event that something got stolen, as well as it has a coverage on the policy. It's called loss of use. Loss of use is a coverage that would help give you living expenses in the event that where you're renting is not livable. So if you had to file a claim, it will give you somewhere options to live while your house is uninhabitable. Okay. Second type of policy is more commonly known as your homeowner's policy. So if you're the owner of a house, and say, for instance, the house caught on fire, this is the type of policy that will cover you for, you know, the insurance company, we're building your house and building it back to whole, as well as they cover you for your personal property. They have liability expenses as well as in there, as well as medical payments. Okay. One of the biggest things I recommend for homeowners is water backup coverage. So water backup coverage is going to cover you for, say for instance, your power goes out and you have a sump pump in your house. And say for instance, the sump pump stops doing its job.
Oh, what pump?
Sump pump.
Sump pump, okay.
Sump pump. So say for in your basement, where the sump pump's job is to push any water out of the house unnecessary water from in the house to outside of the house, so it doesn't flood your basement. So that's a great coverage to make sure that you have on your policy. I always recommend higher coverages on my policies, just to make sure that you know, if that claim has to be filed, that your property and the damage that was caused was covered.
Yeah.
So that's actually one of the most frequently used endorsements on your homeowner's policy here in Maryland. And then the last policy for homeowners they need to have is that you have a lot of landlords out here who own multiple houses and they rent their houses out. They need to get what's called a landlord's policy. So again, this will cover their investment that they have in the event that something happens to that property, and we will be able to rebuild that home as well.
So there's the renter's insurance, and then there's the landlord's insurance, two separate policies. I'm just curious because I'm renting right now, so those are good things to know.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, what else is there? How would you transition into life insurance?
So life insurance, so that's another thing that we offer. So it's two different types of insurances when it comes to life insurance. You have what's called term insurance, as well as you have what's called whole life insurance, or people may call it permanent insurance. Whole life and permanent are two of the same thing. Both insurances are very good to have. I recommend term insurance is for, say you're a newlywed, recently married, and you have children, maybe a lot of expenses or something like that. So God forbid anything happened to you, you would have a lot more insurance to be able to cover, say for instance, your spouse, your children for like education expenses, to pay off your house, you know, pay off any left student loans or anything that you may have. So with term insurance, you can get more life insurance for your money, okay? And whole life insurance is also good as well. So whole life insurance is more used for what's called your death burial, as well as when you retire, you could, you know, borrow money from it if needed. So that's your burial expenses for your whole life insurance. So it's going to be a little more expensive, but it's guaranteed insurance. So it's really good policy to have. So I've seen a lot of instances where people are doing GoFundMes or doing barbecues, fish fries or something to try to raise money for, you know, the lost ones because they didn't have any life insurance. So by having a life insurance policy on yourself is one way to help, you know, keep your family from have to think about any, you know, anything else after, you know, while they're doing it in their grieving process. So,
so you think, or would you say that getting whole life is better than term?
It depends. So I think it's, you could, so this is another misconception. People think that once you get life insurance, you can only get one policy on yourself. So you can do what's called like a blend. So you can get some term insurance, some whole life insurance.
Okay.
So like on myself, I have multiple policies on me. I have some term insurance and also I have a whole life insurance. So I'm using them for different reasons. So like for my term insurance, I have, you know, to cover my house in the event anything passed away. So my wife wouldn't have to worry about, you know, where she's going to live or anything like that, so she can pay for the house. All right, as well as we have children. So my two daughters, something that's very important to me is them getting their college education. So
Definitely.
I have money invested in the life insurance to a certain amount where I know that should be able to be taken care of as well. So hopefully, you know, I never have to use the term side of it because that was a 30-year policy. So at the age when I took it out, it was probably around 25 when I started my term policy. So, you know, hopefully I outlive 55. So, and then at that time, you know, that's where my whole life policy would kick in. Well, it's already done paying for, you know, I would still have that policy because one of the things that term insurance and life insurance is based off is your age, your gender, okay, your health, like if you're a smoker or non-smoker. So those are like some of the biggest things that determine your rating on that. So by me taking out a whole life policy on myself at a younger age, I was able to lock in my insurability as well as my fixed rate for me. So that once my term policy is over with, I don't have to be looking for whole life insurance at a higher price because I took care of it at an earlier age.
So I think that what you're saying is that if I get a life insurance policy now, it will stay that rate?
It depends on what type of policy you get. Most of them are the rates that I use, it's a fixed rate.
Okay.
So meaning whatever rate you qualify for now is the rate that you should pay for the amount of years we do it for.
Okay, and if I got whole life, then that would be the rest of my life.
It will cover you for the rest of your life. So
That's good to
one
know.
policy I really like is it's called a whole life 20 pay policy. So
Okay.
meaning, say for instance, you're say 35, right, and you pay. The policy is set to pay up in 20 years. So you pay on it up to the age 55, and then you own a whole life policy outright. So
Okay.
that's good for somebody. So like once you hit closer to your retirement age, that's one less bill that you have to worry about, or and that's good. And then you own it outright. So
Yeah. Good to know.
Yep.
You just gave me a lesson. All right. Harold, what time are we at? Oh, gosh. How long is this supposed to be? 28. Okay. Wait, so how many did you say? 10?
we said 18 minutes left.
So we have 10
10
minutes.
minutes left.
Okay. What else do we want to talk about?
We can talk about.
Let's think. I mean,
You still rolling right now?
yeah, he can.
You cutting all this out? All right.
He can cut that out.
All right, so we-
Can you put? Oh, I'm sorry. What?
No, so we could talk about. Let's see, we talked about that.
What about? I mean, okay, so I just graduated from college. I hope he's recording this, but so I just graduated from college about a year ago. What would you recommend for like new grads who kind of, I mean, it's just going back to the question of where do you start insurance shopping when you're a new graduate, you know, you don't know the landscape. How does someone find you?
Okay, that's great. So, good question. So, the power of the internet is like amazing. So,
Yeah.
a lot of people do. We're in the age now where people do a lot more research in advance before they actually pick up the phone and call somebody. So, I get a lot of customers who do research online. They find me through various companies that I work with, such as Progressive, through Erie Insurance, through Nationwide. So they go on the website of the people that they were thinking about doing business with, and then they get my phone number and then they contact me. But that's one of the ways that you can find your local agent. Again, I'm here in Bowie, so if you needed to find me, I'm right here on Kent Hill Drive.
Derek Williams, Total Access Insurance.
Yep. So, but that's good though. So, I mean, one of the things I also too recommend. I know a lot of times people, when speaking about shopping for insurance, they shop for price, and price is important, but it's not always necessarily the best thing to, make your whole decision making or your buying decision based off of price, because sometimes, I hear people all the time say, "Well, I got a quote for this amount." So, and I'll ask them, okay, what type of coverages did you get with it? And then they'll tell me, and I'm like, okay, did you know that I recommend this coverage, this coverage, this coverage, or, the quote that they might have had was just for liability only, and, and they might need full coverage on their vehicle. So, just going over the policies with the customers and helping them, do, more of the consulting the customers on, the recommended coverages.
Yeah.
Like, because here in Maryland for the auto insurance, the state minimum is like $30,000 for the bodily injury limits and $60,000 for the total accident, and then $15,000 for property damage. So I tell customers all the time, think about it. If you're driving out here, the weather's about to change, and you slide into a vehicle because the road is slick, and you're driving, say, a 2012 Honda Accord, but the car that you hit is a brand new 2017 Mercedes-Benz S550. So a lot of those cars start off at 60, 70,000, depending on the make and model of it. And if you're riding around with the state limits and they only cover you for $15,000 of property damage, the vehicle that you hit the insurance company is only going to pay the 15,000, and then, they're going to be looking at you for the remainder of the balance. So that's why I always recommend higher coverages, and people sometimes don't even realize to increase that coverage, it really doesn't cost that much more to raise the coverage limits up versus the price that that they're going to pay monthly.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily lessening the risk, but making you safer.
Making you safer
financially.
Yeah, and then another example, I was speaking to a gentleman on the phone the other day. I was telling him about this. He said he exactly knows what I'm talking about, because he's still paying for a car accident that happened 10 years ago. They're garnishing his paycheck, still to this day from an accident that happened 10 years ago.
Wow.
So if he had the proper coverages at that time, I'm pretty sure that, had 10 years of...
He might not be paying it for 10 years.
Right.
That's what would happen.
So that's always what I always recommend, being responsible as far as the coverages that you get. Again, it's always not about the price. Price and coverage is one thing that's really important to me.
Yeah. So the lower the price doesn't mean that you're getting a better deal.
Not all the time, correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you're getting a lower price with great coverages as well, that's ideal.
A different story, yeah. I actually have full coverage on my car.
Okay.
And they told me, a very close friend of mine, he said, you should keep it because it'll get lower as you get older. Because, when I got it, I think I was 19.
Okay.
And it was, I forget how much it started out at, but it's been lowering every year, and I still have the full coverage, so it works out. Paying that amount then to keep me safer was more helpful in the end.
Right. And then one thing, you mentioned the college age driver. So one of the things, one of their biggest thresholds or landmarks is some carriers, when you turn 24, is a mark where they will start giving you more of a break in your insurance premium. And then a lot of the carriers industry-wide is 25.
Okay.
So, those are marks that that you should really look at as a college, recently graduated college driver, when you're looking to try to figure out when is my insurance premiums are going to start going down. Also, too, while we're speaking on youthful drivers, another thing is for the parents out there, stress the importance of your high school children to get their grades, because a lot of the insurance companies reward good students with good grades. So a 3.0 grade point average or higher will get you a huge discount with a lot of these insurance carriers out there. So
yeah, I think I actually got that. My high school back in West Virginia offered a driver's ed class.
That's another one.
Yeah, so I get they give you a discount for that, and then my car has a safe car discount.
Safe car discount.
So, there are a lot of different ways that you can still get a good bundle and have an equally as good price.
That's true.
If I can say that, I think it can work for you guys too.
Yep.
But yeah.
And then speaking of bundling, that's another way as far as discounts. So a lot of people may not know, by having your auto insurance as well as your homeowners or renter's insurance, by having more than one line of insurance with the same insurance carrier, will help give you more of a discount as well. So that definitely helps. We also offer what's called an umbrella policy. Umbrella policies are good for, it's called an excess liability policy. It gives customers up to $1 million extra worth of liability coverage, or you can go as high as to $5 to $10 million, depending on what type of, if you really need that much exposure, but have carriers that can offer that much.
So with bundling, I'm sorry. So with bundling, is that getting multiple, or you're using one insurance company, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So say, for instance, you were shopping with me when I found a great insurance rate with Erie Insurance, right? All right, so if you brought your auto insurance with me, okay, and then, so if I did a quote for just auto by itself, the rate might be a little higher. So say for instance, we'll charge you $120 for full coverage. And then if you did your renter's insurance as well, it's a possibility I might be able to get you a rate for auto and renters for about close or to the same amount. is the 120, because it gives you a discount for having more than one line of insurance with us. So a lot of the insurance carriers are like that. It helps you save that way.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.